Okay, I think I'm unmuted now. So thanks very much, Benjamin. As you've already introduced, and thank you to the previous speakers as well, I've just put my slide up just to make it as quick as possible, and you can read some of the stuff so I don't have to talk through all of it. The point about the experience I have and why I'm here is really around my background in specializing in tax, and working particularly with people that come to the UK as expatriates or as migrants that are coming to work in the UK in various sectors. And I've been doing that for the past 11 years. Now, the issue around that is, I like what Rufaro has just spoken about. She's spoken about the onboarding process. There is a lot in the background about the policies that affect migrants and expatriates when they come to the UK or when they leave the UK. But there's also the element about their financials. And for most people, the average person is not necessarily a tax expert, and sometimes they don't realize the financial impact of the move they're making, other than understanding the general cost of living and perhaps trying to gauge whether their salary is enough to sustain them. So I'm just here really to try and break that down as much as possible. Some of the stuff I'll share, people are probably already aware of if you've been working in the UK for many years already. But for some that are new, I think it's very important just to break things down a little bit in that area. And one of the things that I've experienced in the population I've worked with over the years, most of them have been from corporate firms and companies that have a global footprint that we are aware of. Like I'll just use an example. Everybody knows Google. If I use that as an example. So imagine Google is recruiting, I don't know, software engineers from India, and they're all coming to the UK. I'm just using that as an example. And these people need the kind of assistance I've mentioned. In having discussions with them, I then realized that people ask a lot of intriguing questions. And I began to use those intriguing questions to reflect on my own personal finances. How much do I understand tax efficiencies? Am I using them correctly? How much am I understanding pension situations? Because these are things that these people are concerned about. And then I began to ask myself then, what is the impact of these issues in my own community? Okay, because I think there is so much focus on how much are we earning and how much are we able to send back home? How much are we able to, just be able to budget and live on, right? But we probably don't look at other factors to understand the longer term impact of our financial planning. So these intriguing questions that have come from the community of clients I've been working with have then helped me devise certain ways of making adjustments for myself and also for the people that I then help within our community around this. Okay. Now, the other things I do, I also work in the African Forum in the workplace. So I spent many years as well in PwC, where we would assist a lot of the people that are coming, particularly from Africa, and help with them settle, across the board in the UK, depending on where they're located, and just making sure that they are adjusting well to the culture as well as to the financial aspects that may affect their lives. I also worked closely in other diversity and inclusion initiatives. So the subject we're discussing today is something that's very close to my heart in general. I'm also a volunteer within AYA and a youth mentor, and I do a lot of personal growth coaching for women pursuing businesses. And one thing I thought I should also share is my own personal exposure and experience within the healthcare industry. In as much as I work as an accountant, and now I also did my fair share of working as a care worker many years ago while I was trying to raise funds for studies. I worked in other areas of hospitality as well and things like that. But my major reflection on my healthcare work experience was the importance of the training of things like the manual handling stuff. I personally had an episode where I actually injured myself. My tendon got injured and I had to go through physiotherapy for almost 9 months. It affected the quality of my life. So when I look back, I realized I should have really paid closer attention to those trainings because my health is my wealth, and that's the way we should all look at it. So I just thought I should raise that, just so that you don't put me in the financial box only and realize that I can relate to some of the issues. So very quickly, for today's session in particular here, I've just chosen to focus on the aspect of the income tax. Do we understand how much the UK tax system charges us? Are we even paying the right amount? When we look at our pay slips, how do we know whether we're paying the right amount? So what I've put here for you is really just for you to know that you don't pay any tax on the first 12,500 of your income in the year, and you will pay at 20% as long as you earn between 12,500 a year and 50,000. And that's in yellow because that's where majority of the average earners within the UK would fall under. So you would face yourself, as long as you earn under 50,000 a year, you would definitely pay 20% tax. And on the right here, you've got a breakdown of where this money goes. Every taxpayer tends to get a summary every year, which just shows the actual numbers of where every penny of your tax has gone into the system. So I just thought I'll throw that in there in case some people are not quite familiar. And we can see that the welfare system takes the majority of that, and then the education and health would be second and third in that respect. Now, this is an illustration of a pay slip. Now, I use the pay slip because at the end of the day, we're all here to make a better living for ourselves and for our families. And if we don't understand details on our pay slips, then it's almost a vicious cycle of you waiting for payday, looking at how much net income you have, but still having so many questions at the back of your mind as well in that process. So I just thought I would break this down as quickly as possible, and hopefully you can see what these numbers are showing you. One thing that's important is I'm particularly concerned about the right-hand side here, which talks about the deductions people should be aware of. And there is a tax code. And most times people come to me and they say, I don't think I'm paying the right amount of tax. The first question is, do you have the correct tax code? Okay. And the tax code simply is a code that tells your payroll or your employer how much tax you should be sending to the tax authorities. For this tax year, the basic tax code for most people who are earning under 50,000 a year should say 1257L. And what that simply means is you are entitled to the tax-free allowance that I mentioned that everybody gets, which is the 12,500. So if you've got a different tax code to that, it's a good starting point to actually check with your payroll. Is there any reason why I've got a different tax code? Maybe sometimes it's because you've got a second or third job, that tax code also changes. Or you've got certain benefits that you're getting that then affect your tax code. We also pay national insurance. I'm sure by now most of us are familiar with the national insurance number. So you will see that there is a separate deduction to that. And I'm going to go into a little bit of detail as to what that goes towards. The other thing that you might experience is deductions for pension contributions. These were previously not really essential. Some people just weren't saving into any pensions, and then the government introduced auto-enrollment for every employee to be entitled to a pension in the workplace as long as they earn over £10,000. Okay, so that's something that you will definitely see in most places. Student loan probably won't really apply for most of us because if we're migrants and we've come to the UK, we probably haven't really accumulated any student loan debts to pay unless you've gone to university and you need to repay part of your debt. Okay, so I'm going to try and whiz through this as quickly as possible. And you'll be aware, if you want on your phone, you can actually go on Google and type on an online UK tax calculator. It'll take you to one of the common websites, which is the Money Saving Expert website, where you just put in what your annual salary is, and it literally just breaks down for you how much tax you're going to be expecting to pay in terms of the national insurance as well as the income tax. And then you'll know whether they're in the right direction. And employers can do the same as well and be able to look at that. Again, I've just put on here what national insurance really does. The main things it goes into is the state pension and maternity payments, as well as job seekers allowance. I think it's got a different name now, job seekers allowance. It doesn't really exist anymore. But it's just the benefits that people get. And one day you might find yourself in a position where you need access to these benefits. So when you've paid into the national insurance, then it gives you that entitlement, okay? And you will see that there is a lot of news at the moment about an increase in our national insurance rates. And from July, we'll be paying that on all income above 12,570 at 13.25%. So I don't want to bore you with the numbers, but I thought it's quite important for you to understand why you're paying into certain things and what they're used for. Okay, this bit is really particular about the pensions. Now, this pension here that this page is talking about is the state pension. The state pension we all pay into when we pay national insurance contributions, okay? Now, state pension age, you reach it at the age of 66 at the moment. However, this is subject to change, and that age is increasing over time. Now, for somebody who's very young, you might not think this is a priority, but I think from what I've learned in my own journey and in speaking to various people, I've had people that are age 25 that are already thinking critically about their pensions. And it really challenged me to say, wow, this is actually a very good mindset to have, because, you know, it shows that they've got long-term thinking. So I think we just need to be aware that for you to actually be entitled to a full state pension in the UK, you need to have contributed for 35 years, which is quite a long time. And most people, if we are migrants, we've probably come partway through our adult life, perhaps we're not really going to contribute for 35 years. So the reality is we might get partial payments, which we are entitled to as long as you've contributed national insurance for more than 10 years. Okay, so these are the numbers at the moment: £185 a week. It's not enough for you to really live on in reality. However, it is just a starting point. And when you're getting the partial amount, it means you're not going to get the 485. So think about this for your own long-term planning as well. Then the workplace pension is something I already touched on, where I said that the government has said that employers are now required to actually get into auto-enrollment and make sure people pay into a workplace pension. And the reason for that was they discovered that so many people were retiring poor, and something had to be done, whatever level of income you are, as long as you're earning more than 10,000. So again, you see that you would pay something through your own employee contributions, unless you opt out of the scheme and say, I don't want to contribute to this. Maybe I only plan to be in the UK for 2 or 3 years. I don't see the point. That's absolutely fine. And even if you change many different employers, you can always get your pensions consolidated. Again, the age you can access that at least is much lower. It's 55 years of age, and the amount you get will depend on how much you've contributed and what sort of investments that pension has paid into. Okay, now to wrap up my section, what I wanted to just give you an idea of is what we'll be discussing in the breakout room for those that want to come on board. It's nothing to do with taxes. You'll be pleased to know in greater detail. It will really be pretty much other general UK living cost scenarios we should explore. The issue of debt, the issue of credit, the issue of insurances that we come across that are the costs that we probably don't even factor in, you know, in our daily lives when we decide to buy cars or buy houses, etc., as well as general financial planning principles and budget concepts, and also the real current issue of things like consumer fraud issues, because that's a big thing at the moment. People are losing money. I even had a consumer fraud issue overnight yesterday, you know, and I had to wake up this morning and sort that out. So these things do happen, and we need to make sure that we are glued up with it. If you want to stay in touch, my details are there. You can link up with me on Facebook, on Instagram, or on LinkedIn, as well as my email address is there, and I will be happy to connect with you for financial issues or any of the coaching issues. Okay, so I think I am done with that.